What about my money? Am I supposed to just let them have it? I'm gonna get it back. I need a ride.
June, welcome to the Awards Tour podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you about this, but I think the number one question, the thing I'm most curious about is what does it feel to step into a leading lady role after 60 plus years working as an entertainer, you know, like 70 years working as an entertainer.
Yeah.
What was that like when you got the call about this one and knew that it'd be your first lead performance?
Well, it's funny because I didn't really get a call. I read the script first, and it was sent to me. And I just thought, I've got to do this. And I say, if it had been one day's work, I would have said yes to it. Mm-hmm. It was just the script itself was so beautiful and so right, so written so well. And I think that really did it more than anything, except I realize now, when you're doing a leading role, you get more time in front of the camera. So things that maybe before you said once, you now say 3 times, that. But I prepared the same, I always do. So it wasn't any, big change for me, really.
I know this premiered at Sundance and it was already released this summer. I'm so glad that we're getting to talk to you as you sort of emerging out on this promotion for hopefully, end of season awards.
Yeah.
But the thing I loved the most about it is it was something I've thought about, which is one, like online scammers, because I hate those people on my phone, but it actually kind of taught me something. I developed a code word with my parents based off of this movie because I saw it and I was like, we need to have a word so that y'all don't get tricked, because that was that real life sort of story. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about when you talked to the director about it, because it's based on his real grandmother, and I know you got to meet her, and like that part of it too, I think is even more intimate.
Well, I have to tell you that my assistant and I have a word or two. We talked about that.
Wow. So you got a code word too. Yeah. I won't ask for it, but I'm glad you thought.
No, because I can't remember it really.
Good times, good times. But I'm sure if you were like, we know we have a code word, that would tip it in.
Well, we talked too about it because we've seen it so many times now, just reading the script too.
But talk about when you spoke with the director and sort of like what he wanted you to bring to Thelma. What was he key on?
I got the script through Beanie Fieldstein. She's a family friend of Josh's. And he said he would like me to do it, but he didn't know how to get a script to me. So she just texted me and said, I'm sending you a script. And I texted back, okay, and that was it. We got the script to me then. And I read it, and I just felt, well, I want to do this immediately. I had never met him. I didn't know anything. And so the first time he called me then, he said, we laugh about it now because he said, I thought we'd have to talk you into this, and instead you said, I'm in, I'll do it.
I love that.
So that was it. I mean, it just never occurred to me to do anything else but this film.
Also, shout out to Beanie, who I love as well, incredible performer, that she made the connection.
Yeah.
The story of this one, you go on the hunt for the young men that scammed you on behalf of your grandson, with your grandson, and then also alongside one of your sort of community partners, played by the late, great Richard Roundtree. Y'all's chemistry in this movie, like, I love how kick-ass you are. I love how funny you are. But the two of y'all and your dynamic, like the almost like enemies to like friends part of it, I dug it so much.
Oh, he was so wonderful. And he's a really fine actor, which I don't think people realize. They keep reverting back to Shaft with him always. And he really is a good actor.
Yeah, it's like yourself, a trained theater actor, and had worked in theater for a long time before he had that role. But, will always be remembered for something.
Well, I kept thinking, who's that behind me on the scooter? Oh my God, it's Shaft.
I mean, let's talk about that scooter, because I also read that at first you were like, they got you a stunt woman and like they didn't know how much you were going to do with it. But apparently you did a majority.
I did almost all the scooter. She does a wheelie, and I did not do that. I have to admit, the stunt driver, and she just got on and lifted. I mean, she was amazing. But when I read the script, I thought, well, this will be such fun to drive that scooter. So I had it in my mind from the very beginning that, I should be on that scooter. And they were very leery about it because they thought I was going to kill myself. And the first time they got me on it, the stunt coordinator ran along beside me the whole time. And I said, you really think I'm going to fall and kill myself, don't you? He said, yes, that's what we're all frightened of. So, but I never did. And I also convinced them there were other, stunts that I should do, other physical things that I should do. And they let me try it. And then most of the time I could do them. So.
I dig that. But I do appreciate their fear. Like, we cannot injure a cultural icon here. Like, I appreciate their leeriness and be like, this is an Oscar nominee. Like let's make it to where she makes it to.
They were so nervous about it. They really were, the two producers and Josh.
I kind of feel their pain on that. And I also it's like you and Tom Cruise doing your own stunts, one film at a time. But that's the part about the movie that I don't think a lot of people realize. This is a bona fide action movie, the same as John McClane trying to save his wife in a burning building. Like, you were on that mission. And was that also sort of the attraction for you? Because I think this is the first time you've kind of done action like that.
It is, something where they've said this is an action film. I don't know that I even thought of that. I don't think I did. I don't think I did. I knew they were talking, about that because they talked about me doing stunts and they wouldn't demand too much from me and all this. So I knew it was there, but it never really occurred to me that this was an action film.
I probably did when you were sitting at the screenings at Sundance.
Oh boy, yes. And of course, I have never done a film or TV show where I've gotten so much love from it. I mean, it was amazing.
I mean, yeah.
My first time there. I've had films there, but I've never gone myself.
Oh, really? So that was your first time. So that's really what I wanted to ask you. What was that experience like? Because it's on the mountain, it's snowy, but really you're in rooms full of people that are, to your point, raving on it. And it won awards.
I couldn't believe it because they were just walking the streets and they all were there for film, every one of them. It was it was an amazing experience. It really was.
I love that we're giving you new stuffs here, especially thinking about your sort of career, because I think for a lot of folks, they maybe saw you in Nebraska, your Oscar-nominated performance alongside.
Many people felt that I came from Nebraska, that I was a local.
Girl,
I've had that. They've asked me that.
And I'm like, y'all need to check her filmography. She goes deep. But I love that you've said you knew you wanted to be a performer before you knew anything else, like from the womb. Yeah, so what was that about that? Because that was back at a time where, no offense, that wasn't the everyday aspiration.
God, no, and I grew up in a small town in southern Illinois, and it was, I think, probably in the history of the town, I was the only one, and I still am.
Wow.
They had an article in the paper after Thelma, in the Vandalia paper, and they asked me to come back and be the marshal of the homecoming parade.
Did you?
And I didn't.
Okay.
No, I couldn't do it. And then they said that they would like to name the high school theater group the June Squibb Thespians, so I gave them the okay.
Oh, I dig that.
I was touched by that one, though. That one really touched me.
Oh, the June Squibb Thespians, and that's a name right there.
Yeah.
So what sort of was that first path? Because I also love this little fun fact. You really were about any kind of performer, and you started doing like the old school like shows, like starting in what we would basically say vaudevillian type shows, and then went to the USO. And then cruise ships, is this correct?
Ships,
and
sure.
You're a tap dancer.
I started out thinking of myself as an actress, and I did as much theater work as I could in this small town, in the high school and whatever. But I started tap dancing, and I tap danced all over the place. And one thing I remember my grandfather and grandmother on my father's side used to take me to bars. And there were little like country bars outside the town. And I would tap dance on the bar and they would get free beer. So it was great. I loved it and they loved it. So we kept doing it.
I bet you they did.
Yeah.
So because again, I know for you, it was not Nebraska, because even going back, looking at some of your stuff, there's smaller and like a lot of character work that you did before that. But when did you feel like you had first made it? What was your first job where you're like, okay, I can do it?
I think I worked at the Cleveland Playhouse, and there were one or two shows I did there, theater shows, dramas. I did The Crucible, and that was a rewarding experience to have done that as an actress. And there were some others, but that I remember. And then when I was in New York, I was only in New York a few years, and I did The Boyfriend. And for some reason, I took off. I mean, it really, I didn't understand it, but I was picked out. People, picked me out for my performance. And I think that was the first time that I ever felt, wow, you are going to be able to, not that I questioned it, but it was like, wow, this could really be, I could really do this.
Well, I think it's interesting too is for a lot of actors, and maybe not character actors, maybe it's more, I've seen this with maybe leading performers, is they definitely at a certain age say, yeah, it's not that I can't keep working, it's just I don't necessarily want to. But for you, I think it just, again, I just look at Thelma, I look at a lot of the stuff you've done recently. I think you're always still hungry to perform.
I am.
What do you think it keeps that drive in the late innings?
I think a lot of it is reading a script or knowing something about a role and thinking, oh boy, I would love to do that. I would love to try that. I would love to see what it does to me. I would love to see what happens with it.
Oh, I do dig that. And you're not the only one. I feel like before it's all said and done, I'd love to get you and Dick Van Dyke in something together because as I like to say, you're both seasoned performers who are still having great, incredible, award-worthy work in late innings, and more importantly, still serving us up new performances because you are about to join the Ryan Murphy universe. Like, there's still more stuff. Like, I think you had like 4 more projects. Tell me about this if you can, because Ryan Murphy, he's definitely known especially for that, revamping careers, and you're already in a revamp. So what can you preview?
They asked me, they sent me a script, and the character they wanted me to play, well, I should not say this because it's going to be opening soon, but anyway, it fascinated me.
Wait, but what are you doing though? What you doing?
And so I said, I really want to do this. And time-wise, it was in New Jersey. I mean, everything was wrong, but I said, I want to do it. So we did it. And it was fun. I mean, I don't know another word to say. I mean, it was not great drama. I worked one day.
But it's going to be memorable.
Oh, I think it will be. Yeah, I think it will be. No. And then I did with Scarlett Johansson, her first directing.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful, lovely experience. And we've seen the rough cut of it, and it's going to be a great film, I think.
Tell me a little bit about that. So this is Scarlett Johansson's. I was going to ask you about that. I find that with actors, when they're directed by other actors, it hits a little bit different.
She knew exactly what I was trying to do, what I wanted to do. If I couldn't quite did it, she knew what to come in and help me. She was wonderful.
Oh, awesome. Well, we will preview here exactly what we can on that one. And I really dig that, like I say, you're still trying to stretch yourself with these new roles. I also appreciate you're definitely one of these actors where it's like, maybe they know you from Nebraska. Maybe they know you from The Big Bang Theory. Maybe they know you from Son of a Woman. I will always remember you from a performance that I adore, that I don't feel tons of folks got to see. And that is what you did on Getting On, which is about retirement and hospice care. And you play Varda, and she is a hoot, man. That is
a real hoot.
Tourette's, she is like a pistol, but also one of the most charismatic characters in that show, and you really feel for her through every chapter. What was it like playing Varda? Because that was right around Nebraska time, right?
Yeah, it was. I can't remember if it was right before or right after. I really can't, but I think it was after.
Yeah, I think it was close after, yeah.
And I didn't quite understand it when I went in for the reading, because I did audition. It was before Nebraska because I auditioned for it. And I just thought, well, isn't this kind of wonderful, funny? And I just ran in, and I'm sure that, this is what they wanted. And I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you.
Really?
But then as I got into the show, and they did 3 years, and I did one episode every year, and one episode was like a week and a half or something like that, shooting. And it was wonderful. And then I got to love her. And I thought, you are the funniest thing in the world. And I loved her and, you know, everything about her. And then they wanted me, they kept coming up they didn't quite know how to say it. Will you go nude?
Yes, because I didn't want to say it too, because you go there.
I did.
Go there.
And they were more, it was more difficult for them than it was for me. It didn't occur to me that I should be, you know, thinking about it even. I didn't think about it, I just did it. And they were like holding towels up. Every time I stopped, there was a towel in front of me, you know.
Good.
They were funny. They were wonderful. It was a great experience for me every time I shot on that show.
I mean, there's a lot of best actresses, but has one done this year? That's what I'm saying,
They
though.
kept hiding me behind a door, and I remember I kept saying, get me out from behind this door. I couldn't figure it out. And they kept saying, but they'll see you.
And you're like, the world is about to see me. I mean, like, we're outside, as they like to say. No, it's such a great performance. And that is a hysterical scene, by the way. Like, it is perfect what you portray. But it's one of, like, many notes. Like, your scenes with Niecy Nash are both heartbreaking and also hilarious. Like, y'all's chemistry, just her dynamic along with what Varda was bringing. Everybody watch Getting It On.
Yeah.
Niecy Nash, Mary, what's her from? Oh God, Lori. I'm forgetting her name.
Metcalf.
From Metcalf. Yeah, Lori Metcalf.
And Alex Borstein.
Yeah, no, and Alex Borstein. Yes, they play the medical staff. Great show. Absolutely, check it out. HBO. I have to shout that one to the rooftop because I think it was a well-loved show and very critically acclaimed, but not a ton of people saw it. The other thing I want to talk to you too is you're one of these performers where people come up and talk to you about it. Do you have one that people mostly come up to you about? Because I feel Mima on The Big Bang Theory, even though you were only on there for one episode, because that was such a big show, if maybe they hadn't seen some of your other stuff.
People still say to me, Mima, Mima. They still call me that.
Really? Yeah. What is the one that's most frequent, though?
I think Nebraska.
Nebraska?
That just sort of threw me in front of a lot of people that I don't think did know who I was. They might have, I've seen her before. But somehow after Nebraska, people began to realize who I was.
I want to talk about that one in particular because you were a part of this huge awards push for that one. Because, like, let's talk about, there's Hollywood, you put a movie out, and that's a whole rigmarole. And then there's I'm trying to campaign for an Oscar, which is like it's like campaigning to be president. Like, you and Kamala right now have like a similar trajectory as far as what you're doing. What do you recall most from that experience? Because it is like getting shot out of a cannon, but the experience, it's got to be something that you hold dear now looking back on it.
It is, and I think when I was doing it, I don't think I realized the importance of it. I don't think I really realized what it entailed or meant or anything. I just sort of stumbled through that one with wonderful help from Paramount. I cannot praise them enough for what they did for me in that. But then after I got involved in it, I began to understand more about it. And I think it was never unpleasant. I mean, it was never a push to do or anything like this. I mean, time. You're constantly, you know, you're taking time to do all these things. But there was a lot of really great feeling about it. I enjoyed a lot of it. And then being there, you're in the first few rows of the Oscars, and that's pretty good.
That's a good day.
Yeah.
And then obviously alongside Bruce and what he was doing in that role. And you stole every scene in that movie, as you know. I mean, you earned that Oscar with thievery because every scene you snatched. It was such a great performance. Is there anybody that you got to meet in that process? Because I think that's the other part of it, the Oscars too, because there's all these tastemakers, and so you kind of get to the people that were nominated the year that you were nominated. You're kind of like your classmates. But then there's like a ton of folks that you meet along the way. Is there anybody or any memory from that you kind of hold dear?
Jared Leto.
Oh, really?
For some reason, and I don't know why, he became, like, all at once I would be giving an interview and he would do something behind my head. And this started that way. It started too at the lunch, because I think I was, even then, I was in my 80s, and they kept saying, do you want to sit on the floor? And I said, no, I want to stand in the picture that they take of everybody. And Jared came down and got me and led me up to this. He didn't know me and I didn't know him. But, you know, we just had seen each other around. And then he started playing this game of I'll get in front of June every time I can. Oh. And then I think he told some people that we were going to get married. And, you know, and I haven't seen him since. I mean, it wasn't that they, you know, we became close, but it just got funny.
Honestly, now I want Jared Leto to somehow make his way onto this award season because I feel like you guys got to recreate this because I wasn't doing this back then, and I would have liked to have witnessed that. I really would have.
It was funny.
But that's like the class, you know. You guys had. It's like you know, you graduated high school together, and you may not see each other until the reunion. So, let's make the reunion.
But he would do everything he could to tickle me, to you know, get in my way.
I kind of dig that though, and you have an energy where, like, let me be real, I would probably do that too if I was on a thing with you for that long. I mean, like, let's just have fun. Yeah. Tell me more stories. You've done a lot of different work, a lot of television work that I don't think people realize. And I know that you said after Nebraska, the beauty is you don't have to audition anymore. But before that, you were pounding the pavement, auditioning actor. Do you have any of those sort of like audition stories that you look back on and giggle? I just want to hear one because I know you got like 50. You know, give me one.
I was with my agent in one of the bars in New York, and this guy came in and he was talking. He was the stage manager of a show called La Plume de Matin. This was in the 60s, I think. And he said, well, what's happening? And the guy said, well, we're replacing Yvonne Constant in the show, so I'm auditioning people. And Martin said, well, June could do that. And he looked at me and he said, do you do point? And Martin said, sure she does. I've never been in a pair of point shoes in my life. And so he said, well, fine then, you can come by and audition for the role. I said, okay. And so that was it, and I turned to Martin. I said, Martin, what are you doing? He said, you could do point. I said, Martin, I've never done point in my life. You can do it. So he said, you go to that audition. So I went to the audition, and another guy I knew, who was the stage manager, was doing the books at the front, signing everybody in. So he said, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm here to audition for Yvonne Constant's replacement. He said, you can't do point. And I said, yes, I can. He said, where are your point shoes? I said, I left them at home. And he said, okay. He said, wait right here. He went downstairs and he came up with a pair of point shoes.
Of course he did.
And he said, here, put these on. And I took them, and I have no idea what I would have done, but they called me to come and sing. Right at that minute, they called me, okay, June, come on in, we're singing. And I went in and I sang, and this guy came down to the front. And he said, excuse me, he said, they let me sit in on this audition. He said, I'm from Gypsy, and we're looking for a replacement for Electra, the stripper. And I said, oh, and he said, he said, can we see you move? Do you see you dance? He said, go downstairs. He said, come back, and we'll play some strip music for you. So I didn't know what to do to strip music, so I went downstairs, and a friend of mine, a dancer, was there, and I said, what do I do for strip movement? She said, oh, just dip a lot. And so I was doing it for her and everything. And she said, and then throw some bumps and grind, do a grind and throw some bumps and all. So she got me set up, and I went upstairs, and they played the strip music, and I dipped till I couldn't dip anymore, and then I bumped and I grinded, and I did the whole thing, and I got the job. That's how I went into Gypsy.
That is so
But
good.
you believe I had the point shoes in my, if I'd had to put those on, I would have killed myself.
I was just about to say, like, because those things are dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you would have broken an ankle.
I never have even thought I could do it.
I would have paid to see it, but I appreciate you didn't have to break your neck to get the role. But that's the thing about actors. If you're not lying, your agent's lying, right? You know?
Somebody's saying, of course I could do it.
Also, now knowing that you were in Gypsy, I want to have, like, on this awards tour, you and Mikey Madsen, like, trade stories on that, because she plays this dancer in her movie on Honora. Like, now I'm like, this is the new pairing. This is the new Jared Leto pairing. It's you and Mikey. Yeah. That's so great. That's such a great story. thank you for the perfect audition story too, because I know you've done so many incredible things. You've worked with incredible directors, and you've seen Hollywood both working, just entertainment. You've seen it evolve over the decades. I'm curious if there's something that was present in the earlier part of your career that you lament is not a part of the storytelling process now, that you wish we could sort of bring back, like in a throwback kind of way, something that you missed that we did.
Well, I think just working on stage, because it's very physically difficult. And in 2019, I went into waitress for 8 weeks, and I loved it, but boy, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to do. And that day off, I just fell into bed and didn't get out of bed the whole day.
It's not 8 shows a week for nothing, you know what I mean?
And I couldn't do it anymore. I can still do film, but I do.
And television.
Television. Yeah, but I relate back to that, to being able to do the 8 shows a week and everything, and you did it then.
Petition to have June Squibb do a seated monologue like Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Fleabag. It's just you on a stage with the black drop. We don't need much, man. We'll just listen to you talk. And
I could sit the whole time.
Stop. I'm sure you could, maybe. I don't know. I want to see it. I was not there for waitress. I'm new to the game, but I love your career and I love all of the choices that you've sort of made along the way and the people you've gotten to work with. You've gotten to work with some incredible directors. And some incredible filmmakers. I mean, Martin Brest, the whole Nebraska team, like the whole filmmaking crew behind that. What has been the best bit of direction that you've gotten from a director in the course of your career? The one that you were like, oh, this was, not only did they get it, but it was succinct. I know actors like succinct direction. Don't give me a paragraph. What would you say is the best spin for your career?
I think Alexander Payne always let me kind of do what I wanted to, and then he would step in and mold a little bit if he felt it was necessary. And I think that's the best way of working.
I mean, he's still doing it. I don't know if you saw The Holdovers, but that one was great too.
Yeah.
It harkens back to, I'll just go ahead and say it, I want to know what it was like on the set this day, because you have one of these great moments in cinema where you said something in a movie that then caused everybody to clap. And I'm talking about your scene in Son of a Woman. And I know you weren't in there a lot, but looking back on that, that's an entire auditorium of folks. And you got to say the mic drop line. It's like, Charles Sims is excused from any, and then everyone's erupt. Tell me back to that day, because you say the word and then everybody jumps up. That's a cool day to film, right?
And we were shooting in this huge auditorium. And that whole film was wonderful because it was my second film, and Martin Brest was a brilliant director. I was still sort of not sure what I was doing, but he let me find myself. I mean, he never pushed anything on me. He shot and shot and shot and shot and then shot some more. And everybody was like, oh my God. But you knew when he hit it, I knew when he hit it, that I had hit what he wanted. It was a wonderful experience for me. I think it also gave me the feeling I could do this.
Oh, I love that. So this is
the second film
So we don't get Nebraska if we don't get Son of a Woman.
No, you don't at all.
And we don't get Thelma. Which everyone has to see, because I do have to say, I'm glad that we got to this moment to see you in a leading lady role, to see you kick so much ass. And for folks that haven't seen it, please check out Thelma with the incomparable June Squibb. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.